Begin recording. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today titled AI Breakout Room Challenges. My name is Dr. Anwar Hijaz, and I'm a political science faculty member at Saddleback College, and I'm also a faculty mentor for the CVC at One. I'm very, very pleased to introduce you all to our amazing facilitator today, Dr. Christopher Stillwell. As an award-winning work in AI, higher education, and teaching development, which includes being invited to make many presentations on AI in education for international and national and local teaching organization. He's also a multi-phase U.S. Department of State projects in various countries, and sharing innovations in technology supported instruction as a distance education coordinator for professional development. He is currently leading the AI Communications Education Group at Saddleback College to explore innovative uses of AI to support language learners. And this is something that's funded by the California Learning Lab. So we're very excited to have you with us today. But before we get started, I did want to make a few announcements. During the webinar, we will be sharing a survey. The survey will really help the CVC improve for future webinars. So if you can please take a few minutes to fill it out. It's not very long at all. We will be dropping it in at the 40-minute mark, and then after that, every 10 minutes. So we really, really appreciate you completing it. And then lastly, At One provides badges for course completion, but we do not offer badges for attending this webinar. However, if your institution requires proof of attendance for flex credit or professional advancement, please stay until the end, complete the survey, and request a copy of your responses via the Google form. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it on to you, Chris.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's really a great pleasure to be here. And I just love working with CVC at One. It's really an honor. Wonderful work that gets done here. And I'm thrilled to see everybody here as participants. I see some friends from College of Sequoias. So Sophia, Kyle, Milena, if anybody else, thank you for being here. Always happy to see some old friends here. So let's see. As you can see, we're going to talk about AI breakout room challenges. And there will be a few different things that we talk about today. So the first thing is, what are these breakout room challenges? I'll try to explain what this is about. And then we'll talk about prompting AI, accessing Google Slides and discussing some debates. So we're going to start off. Oh, my goodness. I forgot about a poll. Anwar, did you already mention the poll? I was totally on another world for a second there.
Oh, no worries. I didn't mention it, but I just launched it because yeah. So
the poll is coming in a moment, but yeah, we can get started with that. That's great. So yeah, we do want to know who is here. So if you can tell us a little bit, and there are 3 questions here. So you might need to scroll down to answer these questions. And as you're answering the questions, this is a good way to manage the time because things are pretty tight here. So as you're answering the questions, I'll continue my overview, which is, yeah, we're going to have a task in the breakout rooms where you will access the Google Slides and you'll discuss some important AI debates. And then we'll go to task 2, which is prompting AI to make challenging content accessible. And so we'll discuss some strategies for prompting and some strategies for using AI in this fashion. Then task 3 will be about redesigning a task to reduce AI abuse. If we have time, and this is very tight, but if we have time, we'll talk also about making easy Canvas quizzes from AI, going from an idea to the questions to actually having the quiz on Canvas. And we'll talk about the rationale for using quizzes a bit more in this era of AI. But who are we? So you are all filling out that poll, and that's great. And so let's see what we've got here. We've got, it looks like just about everyone has answered. And so we can end the poll, I think, and share the results. So we'll end that and share the results. And let's take a look here, folks. We see that your current AI usage is using it somewhat regularly is the most common answer, more than half of you. But almost a quarter are using it a lot, which means that more than a quarter are not using it very much. So we've got a range here, which makes for an interesting session. We will be working in teams in the breakout rooms. And so it's always great when there's some variety in there. Question number 2, how long have you been teaching We've got a range here as well, which is to be expected, but look at all the experience we have here. We've got people in the 0 to 3 year range at 8% of us. 4 to 10 years is more like 19% of us. And then 11 to 20 is 35%. And then more than 20 years experience is 38%. Holy cow, everybody. Give yourselves a pat on the back for your hard work and thank you for your service. All right, so next one, number 3, which field best represents your primary teaching area? We've got maybe a fifth of us are in the STEM fields. We've got some arts and humanities folks. Is the next most common? No, the next most common would be career and technical education. And then we've got arts and humanities tied with other. And if you're in that category of other, then maybe you can share your answers, share a little bit more about yourself in the chat so we can find out who's here. We've got some folks from languages, and we've also got folks from health sciences. And so that covers it. All right, so again, a big range here, and that's going to make for some interesting discussions in the breakout rooms. So let's go to that topic. What is this stuff about breakout room challenges? Well, this whole session is interactive. So I'm sorry if you're driving right now and you're hoping to just listen in. This might get a little awkward very soon because people are going to be saying, hello, are you here? So maybe if you can, pull over to the side of the road if that's your situation. Always be safe. Buckle up, folks. Here we go. Next one, you'll be assigned to a breakout room team, and each team will complete AI-related tasks on Google Slides, but you will not actually use AI. I know it's kind of counterintuitive. We're going to talk about AI so much, but we're never going to go down that rabbit hole of actually prompting and doing things unless we really finish the task and we have that time. For those of you watching the recording later, consider trying the challenges yourself or with an AI partner. Okay, so what are we going to do in these breakout rooms? Well, first of all, please do not ask AI to complete the tasks. Just like with our students, I'm not interested in what AI has to say about this. I'm interested in what you have to say about this. So please collaborate with your colleagues, generate your own ideas. We can do it. Next one is maintain a spirit of inquiry and exploration. Welcome all ideas and keep going. Don't just stop once you have 1 or 2 satisfactory ideas, right? This is a real opportunity to collaborate with colleagues from across California. I think it's a nice moment. All right, next one. We're going to share the airtime, please. Make sure that everyone in your group has the time and the opportunity to contribute. So if you find that you have a strong opinion about something and you're sharing a lot, then that's great. But then take a moment to say, what about you guys? What do you think? And be very mindful to bring other people in. If possible, please be ready to turn on your microphone and your camera. That's going to really facilitate this discussion. But if you're only able to communicate by chat, of course, that's okay too. Multiple group members can access the Google Slides at the same time, or one member can share their screen and act as the scribe for the group. Many times that second option is a little bit easier to manage if one person's sharing their screen and typing and everybody else is talking about what to put in there. Because if everybody's looking on their own screen and looking at what's happening on Zoom, it gets a little confusing. So that's my advice. Now, when you get to the breakout rooms, it's going to help if one person can say, you know what, I got a good signal and I'm confident enough sharing my screen. I'll be the one to share and type for everybody. That will save us some time and help us get a lot of value out of this time we have together. All right, now what is task 1? Task 1 is simply getting started in your breakout room. So you're going to access the Google Slides and the link is coming. We all know that if I give you the link right now, I'll lose half my audience, right? People will go over there, follow the link, start exploring, and I'll be saying, hello, pay attention, please. So we're not going to do that. So I'm going to give you the link in a moment. When you get the link, you'll find your groups section according to your breakout room number. So of course, if you're in breakout room number 3, you look for room 3, the hyperlink in the Google Slides. Next, you'll add your names on your group's first slide. So that'll be a quick get to know you moment there of what's your name and get them in there. You'll see the names in the chat, but you can put everybody's preferred name in there and then move into a discussion. And I hope you have fun with this discussion. When I've tried this kind of thing in the past, I found that there's actually never enough time to fully explore these topics, but it's a nice warm up. And this is something that we can use AI to generate for our classes as well, if you find that this is an activity you enjoy today. So you'll see some choices and you'll have to decide which one you like the best. Let's take a look. I'm going to switch my sharing here to my Google Slides And I believe they're over here. Ah, okay. So here's the Google Slides, and I will share the link with you in just a moment. When you go there, you'll see slide 2 has a review of the rules, and then slide 3 has your rooms. And I was very optimistic about the attendance today. I made 21 rooms. So each of you get your own. Not quite, not quite. I haven't checked the participant numbers recently, but I think we'll probably have about 4 people in each room. And so from there, you'll end up in, you'll follow your link and you'll find your room, and you'll go over here and click on this and type in your group's names. Okay, from there, you will follow the instructions for this or that. It says on the next slide, discuss each pair of choices, which is better and why. And you'll mark the most popular choice in bold. So there's kind of a need here to try to converge on a shared opinion within your room. But if you really can't reach a shared opinion, you do have an option to add comments at the bottom. So on the next slide, you'll see where that is. And if you like this, so we're comparing 1A to 1B. That's how it works. And you have to decide which one is better. For example, is it better to assign students to use AI, or is it better to restrict students from using AI? You have to choose just one of them. And if everybody in your group says this is the one, then you put that in bold. You can underline it, you can highlight whatever you want to show us your vote. And you'll have about 5 minutes for this whole thing. So try to move through at a reasonable pace. If there's a topic that you really don't like, or if there's a topic that you really do like, you're welcome to jump around and choose. But just always remember that you're comparing 1A to 1B. You're comparing 2A to 2B. And that's the this or that. So which one is better in each pair? Anwar, what do you think? Am I doing okay so far? Yeah.
Yes, everything's great. There are about 40 participants, so just let you know.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll make 10 breakout rooms, and that means there will be 4 people in each room. And you're going to come here. Once you get to that point, you'll see the next slide says to stop. And that's as far as you go. So everybody, if you have any questions for me, you can put them in the chat. And meanwhile, I'm going to find the link to share that with you in the chat as well. So Anwar, if you can tell me while I'm finding the link to share, if any questions pop up in the chat. And also, Anwar and I will be coming around to visit you in the breakout rooms as well to see if anybody needs any help. Let's see, I will switch my screen sharing over here back to my slides. Okay, I think that's working. And Anwar, this is going to be a moment where we'll be able to pause the recording shortly. So here we go. So once you finish the this or that, you stop. Do not go further to task 2 or anything like that. And here's the link. And I will also put that link in the chat.
There is one question that came in. To clarify, we'll have 5 minutes to go through the options, correct?
Yes, 5 minutes exactly. And when the breakout rooms close, you will have actually 30 seconds remaining before you fully get kicked out of the breakout rooms. I'm putting the link
Can
in
we
the chat.
switch interpreters now?
Of course.
Byron,
Of course.
are you there?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm going to create the breakout rooms and send everybody over. So here we go. Breakout rooms. We will make, let's see, recreate. We will make 10 breakout rooms. Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoy. You've got 5 minutes. Please use them wisely.
And Chris, Ingrid is here under 2 screens. Is there a way to make sure he's in the same breakout room?
Yeah, we can move some things around. I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, we are coming back from the breakout rooms momentarily. Let's see here. There we go. So I think I closed the breakout rooms, but
Yeah, I see everyone's back.
oh, good. Why don't? Okay, great. Welcome back, everybody. Let's see. So at this moment, we're all back, and I like to have something to welcome everybody back, which is in the chat. Can you please share one interesting thing from your group's discussion? My hope is that you have a million interesting things to talk about. Unfortunately, we don't have a million minutes or hours or whatever it would take to discuss them all. But if you could share one interesting thing that you got from the discussion in the chat, I'd appreciate that. And then if you've got a burning question about any of these topics, these are topics that I'm interested in, and I'd be very happy to talk about more. So please hang on to that. And if we have any time at the end, I'll be very glad to explore any of those topics as well. All right, now moving forward, here comes the next task. The next task is to make a challenging content accessible. So how can we make challenging content accessible? Well, the first question is, what are we talking about here? So let's think about the content that you teach. Now, I know that we're not all English teachers, and we're not all languages teachers. We've got STEM professors, we've got CTE, people in the category of other. So that's a tough topic as well. And whatever you're teaching, there is content that your students struggle with at times. And so think about that. What topics tend to be the most difficult for your students? And how could generative AI be used to increase your students' success with this content, right? And so we're going to focus on something like a very specific example, and it will apply to many of you, but definitely not all. But in the back of your minds, I hope you will keep this idea that no matter what, we can use AI to make content more accessible. Even if it's like a math class or a chemistry class or something else, you would change the techniques a little bit, but a lot of things would be kind of similar perhaps. Okay, so here's the scenario that we will explore. The scenario is that Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail is essential to your next lecture or your next lesson, and you've assigned it for homework. But your prior experience tells you that students often fail to fully understand this piece. And there are many reasons for this. One reason is that it's got very formal language, long sentences, and some advanced rhetorical strategies. You really have to kind of be able to follow things and hold multiple ideas in your mind at the same time in some places. The civil rights context, if students aren't really aware of the world that this letter took place in, it's going to be hard for them to relate to it or to get it. There are some religious and philosophical references. And finally, it's distant perhaps from many students' own experiences. So we've got our work cut out for us. This is a challenging letter. By the way, I talked to my daughter about this and asked if this was kind of a common task. And she said in high school, she looked at it in 3 years of high school. So apparently this is a fairly common one for, depending on what classes you're taking or where you're going to school. So I hope this is a relatable assignment. But like I said, even if it's not, please jump in and help your colleagues to figure out how could we take a challenging text, for example, this one, and make it more accessible to our students. So can you throw some ideas in the chat? What do you think? What are some ways of making challenging content accessible? Let's say we've got a difficult reading and we want to somehow facilitate our students' understanding of this reading. So I'm going to open the chat here. Let's see what kind of things are coming up. Start with giving some context. Yes. Show visuals. Create a chatbot of MLK to answer student questions. Wow. Okay. Nice. A Notebook LM generated AI podcast talking about it. Using Notebook LM. Yeah. A couple of people sharing that idea. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. Okay. Well, keep those ideas coming. And Peru solve. Very nice. Yes. So for us today, we're going to stick to something like Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT, just for the sake of using this scenario as a basis for sharing ideas about making prompts. And I can hear some people saying, we don't need to worry about this anymore, Chris, because da-da-da-da-da. And I'm going to gently push back on that momentarily. So if you'll bear with me, I do think this is a relevant activity, even as our engagement with AI evolves and as things get easier in some ways. So now when we think about generating supplementary material, many of you are sharing some really bold and great ideas like creating a chatbot using Notebook LM. I'm also thinking of maybe some more traditional approaches that I might use with my ESL students, for example, things like generating some pre-reading questions or previewing questions if it's a video, to sort of activate schema, wake up that prior knowledge that students have and make things more accessible to them. Maybe making a glossary for the difficult terms. If we have students who speak different languages, we can use AI to translate some of the key vocabulary to give those scaffolds. Maybe making an outline, or even better, perhaps a notes outline where it's an outline, but it has gaps and students have to look at the reading and fill in those gaps. Make a quiz, maybe a quiz before they read it to see what they already know about similar topics. And maybe if they see their scores on that, that can help give them some background information at the same time. Now, these are just ideas. You guys have already shown me in the chat that you have more creative ideas than I do. So I should be quiet and send you back to the breakout room. So that's what we're going to do. But before we do, there's another piece, of course, to this challenge. The real point is about writing a prompt. And so keep in mind that yes, with a few words, we can get big results. But are they good results for our students? And how do you know? For example, not so long ago, I asked ChatGPT, I said, I went to that window there and I typed in vocabulary quiz. And guess what, folks? With those 2 words, you bet I got a vocabulary quiz. Was it good for my students? Did it match anything at all? Who knows? But I got one, right? And so this, I think, my point here is we can always get something from the weakest or the shortest or simplest of prompts. But maybe if we do more, we'll get more. And so Ethan Malik talks a lot about ways to interact with AI, and he's got a bank of prompts, and you can see that they're quite detailed. Here, let me back out again. You can see that this is one prompt that he wrote, and it's multiple paragraphs, and it goes into great detail about what he wants, in this case, from an AI tutor. He wants it to give students examples and explanations and analogies, and he's going into great detail about all these things. Now, we're not going to do that. We're not going to go crazy and have 5 paragraphs in our prompt, but we are going to think about how do we communicate what we want. And it really comes down to being about giving instructions. So it's good to remember that generative AI is designed to be interacted with as if it were a person. And we tend to get better results when we can clearly communicate what we want. The good news is, as teachers, giving instructions is what we do. So one more time, everybody in the chat, can you please tell me, what do you think? What do good instructions look like? And Anwar, if you don't mind, oh, so here we go. We've got, Kyle says specific, we've got clear, relevant, interesting, parameters, concise, less is more. I like that. Concise again, contextualized and clear. Thank you so much, everybody. These are great ideas. You're going to have a great conversation in the chat. Student-friendly language is another one. Nice. Okay, and so we're going to try to give those good instructions, and we're going to try to make a good prompt. And as you make a good prompt, I'll give you some hints of some things you might want to keep in mind. Is that some ways of making an effective prompt might include describing the topic and the context in some detail, giving the AI a role. Have you heard about that one, right? So say like you're an expert in something, and there are some interesting reasons for that I'll try to come back to. Give precise, and as you all said, concise instructions. Give examples of what you want, perhaps. Detail the length, the style, the formatting of the output. Basically, the more detail you can give, the better the AI will give you something that matches your needs. Give relevant information or data. Repeat crucial parts of the instructions. And don't forget, folks, you should also repeat crucial instructions.
Chris, we
Also,
we got a question. Yep. Are we prompting the AI or guiding students to write their own prompts?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you, Jackie. We are prompting the AI. So in this case, we are creating materials for our students. But you're right, someday we might take some of these ideas and share them with our students. But for today, we are maintaining our teacher role and collaborating with colleagues to create some material that we will give to the students. It could be a quiz, a notes outline, a chatbot that acts out as MLK, up to you. But I hope you'll settle on what you want fairly quickly so that you can get to the task of writing the prompt. And then we're going to look at everybody's prompts and see what we can learn from each other's ideas and approaches. The last one here is give feedback when a response is not on target. Now, those last 2 are not going to be so useful for us right now because we are going to simply type the prompt in the Google Slides, and we are not going to use AI at this moment. We're only going to type the prompt of what we would like to say to AI. Okay, so let's take a look at those slides. I'm going to share my screen on that now, if I can find it. Let's see, I'll click on share and share again, and here we are. So looking now at your slides, if you're in room 8, then you'll go ahead to task 2 if you're in room 3. Always please take a look at the top left window to make sure you're in the correct room and the correct task. So it's room 8, task 2 for the people who are in breakout room 8. So this is just my example. And then you'll see the rules here for your challenge, creating the ideal prompt, and you've got the 4 steps there. And then you've got the scenario written for you again, exactly the same thing that I just told you a moment ago. And then over here, you can identify, it says 3 to 5 ways. Actually, let's make that just, if you can agree on one way, that's great. If you can, one idea would be enough, because the real place to put your time for this challenge is to go to this slide here, where you're writing your answers of what do you want to create. So you'll click over here. We want to generate a chatbot. We want to generate a, please don't say Notebook LM, because that's a whole different thing. So right now we're thinking about how can we ask for something from something like ChatGPT or Gemini, those kinds of things. So we want to generate a quiz or a glossary or a notes outline. And then down here, you write your first draft of your prompt together. And finally, you'll write your, if you have time, after you write your first draft, you might revise it and make improvements. And I'll tell you a secret. When you are revising it, you might go to the next slide, which has those hints again, if you want to look at that. But try to save those hints for your final version. In the first version, try to listen to your colleagues and their ideas and see what you naturally bring to this task. All right, so if everybody's okay with that, I'm
Really
going to open the
quickly,
breakout rooms, but Anwar, yes.
did you want the breakout rooms to be 5 minutes again, like last time?
Yeah, let's try for 5 minutes like last time.
Okay,
Exactly.
I'm gonna set it as 5 minutes, and everyone will get a 60-minute countdown.
Okay, great.
So I just set
And
up.
I will open the breakout rooms now. And I guess we can pause the recording as well. Let's see here. Welcome back, everybody. So now that was far too short. It was ludicrous, I know. But let's just see what we can find here. I'm going to jump around in our slides and see what we had to say about this task. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to grab a phrase here. I'll go to challenge our answers, I guess. And I'll see what I can find if I search for that throughout the document. So put that here. And so let's see, I'm going to group 3, room 3. You're typing up, describe how MLK addresses the 8 Alabama clergy. Okay, so this is a work in progress from room 3. Let's see about room 4, 5. Let's see, you're doing an outline with a revised ChatGPT version. Okay, so maybe using ChatGPT to revise things. Sounds nice. Let's see here, room 6, still in progress, I think. All right. And let's see, room 9 has begun their, okay, now let's take a look at what's in progress here. It says, you are an expert textbook author who is familiar with English composition for first-year college students. I am an expert ESL professor. Ooh. You will write 5 pre-reading questions for the MLK letter. Nice. Okay, so we're assigning roles. We're describing the context. And so this idea of you're an expert textbook author, this is a technique that I've seen in a few different places, and maybe you've heard about this. Part of the idea here is that AI has been trained on, kind of scraping the whole internet, and Gemini's been trained on all those books that they were trying to digitize. And so it's been trained on vast amounts of information. And often it's going to give us kind of the average answer across all of that information. But if we can say you're an expert in something, then we're sort of nudging the AI to go focus in that area of expertise and give you some responses that will better match what you're looking for. That's the idea behind saying you are an expert something something. Now, I see this group is also adding some more details, very specific about 5 pre-reading questions, like how many questions and what kind of thing is it. We're activating background knowledge. So room 9, thank you. This is a very nice example. Let's see, do I have a room 10? I think I might. Let's take a look here. But no, so I'll just take a quick spin. And I think what I'll do now is I'll come back now to my slides and revisit those techniques there, those ideas for prompting. So here we are, we're back at my slides, and hopefully you can see them. And I'll see if I can make them go full screen here. Okay, so everybody should see a nice light blue slide here that says prompt writing challenge. And from here, we're back, and the question here is it always important to write prompts so carefully? So that challenge was really encouraging you to think carefully and follow those different tips and try to make things, very, very specific and thought out. Now, this reminds me that at the beginning, when we all first started hearing about generative AI, many proclaimed that an essential and lucrative career of the future would be prompt engineering. But as AI improves, of course, the need for carefully constructed prompts may be diminishing. And so one thing we hear about nowadays is vibe coding, this idea that you can sort of just give an idea of what you want and the AI will give you a pretty good response, and maybe you can narrow it down. So you start with a general prompt to get in the vicinity, and then you improve your results by making more specific requests. So that is another approach. But I would say that even though that does work, and maybe that's your preferred way, maybe that's the most practical thing, I still think there's a really good case to be made for thinking before we prompt, especially as we think about expertise. If we think about, I'm the expert of my classroom, I'm the expert of how to do things right, and these AI companies are telling me that I can just take a break and they're going to do everything for me. But I'm going to kind of take that with a grain of salt and remember that, no, actually, I'm the one in charge here. And so before I start asking AI what it thinks all the time, it's probably better if I remember that I don't necessarily know what I think about something until I give myself that task of writing it down. And that's what we say about writing, right? Is that when we write, we figure out what we think about a topic. And so just that task of making a good prompt helps us get in the zone and really kind of work things out for ourselves and access our own expertise. It can help us clarify our thinking and set clear objectives. And the alternative concerns me a little bit, because if we don't establish what we want before we start prompting, then I'm afraid we're at risk of accepting something that seems good enough without really critically determining what actually suits our needs. It reminds me of when you go to the supermarket without a list, right? And sometimes if you're hungry and you go in there without a list, then everything looks great. And you end up with a cart full of stuff. And later, after you've actually had some time to think about it, maybe you've got a meal in your stomach, and you can be a little bit more critical about it. You say, that wasn't such a good idea, actually. So I'm a little concerned about that happening with AI. Maybe we're not using our own expertise and experience to the greatest advantage if we don't really think it through first. And we might be more accepting of slop. And slop is this idea that, lots of times nowadays we're getting hit with all kinds of stuff that is really not appropriate for, or not, it's just not, it's garbage. How about that? It's kind of garbage. And we're starting to see it all over the internet. And it's a turnoff, man, right? When you see these things and you say, I think that was generated by AI. Why are you bothering me with this crap? So, okay. So I'm going to jump ahead here in my slides a little bit to another challenge that we're facing, and that is the challenge of how do we help students to use AI as mindfully as we want to use AI as instructors. And so from here, I'm going to share my screen on another slide. If we had more time, I was going to give you another breakout room challenge to look at a terrible homework assignment and try to improve it. But I think I'm going to jump ahead to this discussion here. And I really want to encourage everybody to throw some comments and ideas in the chat as we go. But one thing to think about as we ask ourselves, how can we help students be mindful about the use of AI and be careful and make good choices is, well, the first thing is to remember that students are human, just like us. And so what that means is sometimes, like all humans, students will be tempted to take shortcuts, even when they know they are wrong. They will procrastinate, make a poor decision in the heat of the moment. They'll say to themselves, like we all do, I'll do it just this once, and then never again. And maybe that's like us when we're prompting AI, and we know that maybe a better prompt would give us better results, but just give me a vocabulary quiz and take it from there, right? So from there, protecting the integrity of courses, which includes taking reasonable measures to prevent and respond to cheating, means trusting our students will be just like we are, not perfect. So that puts extra responsibility on us to think carefully about how we're designing our assignments, how we're scaffolding assignments, like we did with that letter to Birmingham, to make it maybe engaging and supporting students with the difficulties they might have. And by the way, this is a quote from Tricia Gallant. And we also need to remember that our students are faced with these kinds of awkward choices everywhere they turn, even when they don't ask for it. Things like this are popping up in Copilot saying, just give me a description of what you'd like to write, and I'll generate a draft for you. No problem. Come on. And maybe you heard that very recently, I think it was Google, maybe it was Chrome, had a button pop up that said something like homework help, just appeared there. So, this is happening on our phones. It's happening all over the place. The whole point for the AI companies is to reduce friction and bring AI into every part of our lives, which would be really great for them to make a lot of money and have us hooked and addicted to them, right? We have to help our students to see the challenges, and we have to help them understand how it all works. Here's a sobering graph, right? Lower student AI literacy predicts higher propensity to use AI on assignments. So, right, so the idea here is—
slow down just a little bit.
I can try. Okay, so, sorry, thank you. The less people know about AI, according to this study, the more they use it. And another interesting study was that men and students with lower GPAs, this is Jose Antonio Bowen, are much more likely to be, quote unquote, very knowledgeable about AI. So, okay, so we've got a lot of people using AI without understanding the consequences, how it's affecting their learning, things like that, right? And on top of that, we don't really like to learn, maybe. I mean, here's an interesting study that says it's unpleasant to think. And they did this interesting way of figuring out, like, what did people find agreeable? What did they find disagreeable? And there was negative emotion associated with having to think and work harder. Sort of makes sense, but it's not good news for educators and learners, right? We have to work in order to learn. And so I feel like with great possibility comes great responsibility. I like to think of AI as being this great tool that's got all these wonderful aspects, but it is also sharp and pointy and dangerous, and it could cut you. And so it's up to us to understand the risks and help students get the guidance from us. And so I want to close by, I'm going to revisit the chat, and Anwar, I hope you'll help me to find comments and questions that pop up there. But I also want to leave you with one thing that I think we really can be sharing with our students, is this idea of leveraging AI to enhance learning through assessments. Now, a really great point comes from the book Make It Stick. And the point here is, I'm going to simplify it, that when we have more tests in a class, students learn more. Why is that? Why do we learn more when there are more tests? Well, here's another quote. We're easily tricked into believing that learning is better when it's easier, but research shows the opposite. When the mind has to work, learning sticks better. And so one thing we really have to help our students understand is the more we let AI make our lives easier, the more we might be kind of letting ourselves get dumber. And there are some interesting studies that say things along those lines, although they've been misinterpreted or exaggerated. But the truth is AI can erase learning opportunities, no question about it. And so for us as instructors, we can help our students by giving more assessments, but they can be fun assessments. They can be Kahoot, they can be Canvas quizzes that are practice quizzes. And my favorite way to do that is to build and import a Canvas syllabus quiz using this link here. And we'll be sharing the slides with you. But this is NYIT EDU. It's an exam converter. And if I had time, I would demonstrate it for you. But basically, when you go there, it will show you a format that you can use to create questions with ChatGPT. You create a QTI file, and then you end up uploading that into Canvas. And so on my last slide here, I've got a link to a video where I'm demonstrating how to do that. And I will put that in the chat now for everybody. And everybody, this is the time for comments, questions. You can raise a hand or throw questions in the chat.
Chris, can you please share your slides, the link to your slides?
Yes. I mean, not instantly, but I want after today, later today, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. So while the questions come in, I just want to make a few announcements. Thank you everyone so much for attending the webinar. Before you go, please check the chat for the survey link and take a moment to complete it. You will receive a copy of your responses, which can serve as verification of your attendance. And if you encounter any issues, feel free to reach out to support@CVC for assistance. We encourage you to also explore other webinars that the CVC will be offering throughout the term. The link for upcoming webinars was shared in the chat, and I'll go ahead and drop it in a minute. Lastly, this webinar and its recording slides will be available on the CVC @OneWebinar website page, so keep an eye out for that as well. So thank you all, and I know there's a few questions, so we'll stick around. We want to respect everyone's time. I know we're right at the hour, but if anyone has questions, we can stick around for a few minutes.
Yeah, I see a request to share the NYIT link, and I can do that. So I'm going to have to break out a screen sharing, I think, to pull that off, but I can do that. So that's one now. Okay, the link is coming.
I don't see any questions besides people being interested for the link of the slides, which we will be posting. And then just a lot of great messages of thanking you, Chris. So thank you again so much.
Great. Oh, I see Josep has raised a hand. So go ahead and turn on your microphone if you're able.
Let me see. I might have to turn on. I went ahead and allowed to talk.
So Josep, Anwar is saying you if you can turn on your microphone, we'll be glad to hear from you. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
They might have accidentally put their hand up.
Okay. You can also put a question in the chat or a comment in the chat if you like.
All right, we'll hang around one more minute.
Sure.
It looks like, are you
So
sending
Edward
this?
is asking if you're sending the survey.
Yes, I will drop it in again. Here it is.
Yeah. Great.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop recording and thank you everyone so much.
So Timothy asked me a question here. He says,